Turns out the Republican lawmaker in Florida who sponsored the so-called Don't Say Gay bill stole a considerable amount of money from the federal government by applying for COVID-19 loans that were meant for small businesses. And he did all sorts of fraudulent stuff in order to get approved for that money. So here he is. Republican State Representative Joseph Harding, author of the controversial Parental Rights in Education bill, has been indicted for wire fraud, money laundering, and making false statements. The money laundering part of it is really fascinating because you're getting the money, yes, illegally and fraudulently by pretending like you have small businesses that don't exist and employees that don't exist in order to get approved for that money. But let's get through exactly how he did this, what kind of fraud he engaged in. The federal indictment alleges that Harding fraudulently applied for federal disaster loans using the names of dormant businesses, then created false bank statements for a dormant business as supporting documentation for a fraudulent loan application. I mean, if he could just be like Donald Trump, he'd be untouchable. But he's not big enough, so he's being indicted. In his application, prosecutors said Harding claimed one of his businesses had more than $400,000 in revenue and 4 employees in the months prior to the pandemic. The company has actually been dormant for 3 years with no revenue and no employees. The indictment also alleges Harding created false bank statements to support his applications. Now, how much money was he, trying to defraud the federal government of? Well, federal prosecutors allege that Harding fraudulently obtained and attempted to obtain more than $150,000 in funds to which he was not entitled. So I can get to charges and possible sentencing in just a moment, but Cenk.
Yeah, so I met a person who lives in Florida. He is a single dad, he's gay. And his daughter and him took a picture and it was gonna go in the yearbook, just a benign regular picture of them at home. As it turned out, there was a rainbow flag behind them, so the school banned it and didn't allow it to go in. And then she wrote an essay about her summer vacation, but it involved her dad, who's gay. And the teacher wouldn't let her read it out loud in the class. So the bill is real. And part of the reason why teachers are hesitating is because they're like, well, it's not clear how it's going to be interpreted and we are going to get sued. The way that this son of a bitch wrote the bill, the teachers get sued. Okay, so it's just an atrocious bill that's in favor of censorship, it's against freedom. And why does he do it? He said because we're worried that people who are gay, LGBTQ, trans, etc., they're immoral and we don't want our kids finding out that they even exist. Like, if there's a book that mentions somebody who's trans, you gotta get it out of the library. You can't teach it, because then pure innocent kids would find out about these evil creatures that are gay or trans or whatever it might be, right? I mean, it's such a disgusting thing to think about fellow human beings. But in my experience, and I've been covering news now for over 25 years, there's no one more immoral than a Republican that is judging the morals of others. Every time.
They usually have some skeletons in their closet.
Yeah, the ones that are doing the most moralizing are the most criminal, the most immoral. It never fails, it never fails. Look, if I was a prosecutor, not as a political thing, but the minute I see some Republican preacher or politician or somebody talking about how other people are immoral just for who they are, I'd immediately investigate, because you're gonna find a lot of crimes, okay? They're projecting their evilness onto other people. And this guy's a classic example. One of our members wrote in earlier with a great line that I'm not gonna be able to replicate, but he said basically if a Republican is accusing, a Republican is confessing.
Yeah, no, I think you hit the mark. That's such a great comment. Now let's talk about possible charges and sentencing, right? So he does face 6 counts, including wire fraud, making false statements, and money laundering. Harding has pleaded not guilty and was released on bond before a scheduled trial on January 11th. If convicted though, he faces some serious prison time, 20 years in prison for wire fraud, 10 years for money laundering, and 5 years for making false statements. Now, those are the maximum sentences. It's unlikely that he's gonna get the maximum sentences. There might even be a plea deal situation, who knows? But I mean, for prosecutors to bring these charges against a member of the state legislature, they've got to have some significant evidence proving his guilt. So we'll see how this all plays out. And Harding said in a statement to the Associated Press that he's paid back all the loans, but he didn't mention the dormant businesses and that aspect of it at all. And one LGBT group responded saying, despite him facing some accountability now, he's already done a great deal of damage to people in Florida, to your point earlier, Cenk. The courts will sort through this sordid mess and serious corruption allegations, but we know this: he's made many false statements about LGBTQ people. Florida parents are forced to navigate schools that are less safe for their kids because Harding's political ambitions know no bounds.
Okay, I want to clarify a couple of things. He paid it back after he was caught.
Of course, yes.
To try to get a lower prison sentence. He didn't just voluntarily go, oh my God, by the way, I robbed you guys and here's the money back. And yes, if you live in Florida, he robbed you, okay? And so when you take from the government, you take from all of us. So you know how hard you work and you pay your taxes, and then this greedy Republican son of a bitch comes in accusing everybody else of being immoral. Meanwhile, he's stealing your money, okay? I mean, there's nothing defines a Republican politician better than that. Good on the prosecutors, by the way, for getting him.
Yes.
So great job. So I'm sure Republicans in Florida right now are screaming, defund the prosecutors, right? Just like they did with defund the FBI when they were trying to enforce the law on Trump. And finally, look, this might be a bit of a Florida thing too, because remember, the senator from Florida, Rick Scott, did the biggest fraud case in American history. He robbed Medicare of billions of dollars. He's an absolute criminal, and he got reelected. He got reelected to governor and then got elected as senator. Republicans love criminals who rip them off. They're like, please take my money. As long as you hate someone I hate, I'll let you rob me all day long. They would let this guy and Rick Scott walk into their house and just take stuff and walk away as long as they hate gay people. Thanks for watching The Young Turks, really appreciate it. Another way to show support is through YouTube memberships. You'll get to interact with us more. There's live chat emojis, badges. You've got emojis of me, Anna, John, JR. So those are super fun. But you also get playback of our exclusive member-only shows and specials right after they air. So all of that, all you gotta do is click that join button right underneath the video. Thank you.